Jacob Creighton, C2. In the recent election, we've seen that urban voters are extremely important to our voting process and weigh heavily in on elections. Recently, in the past elections, Republicans have been struggling to win urban voters, with Democratic candidates winning the urban areas by a very wide margin over Republicans. And this brings into light a new question. Should Republicans, or may I say better, what can Republicans do to get more urban voters? I believe there are three different ailments to the problems that Republicans are having with their urban voters. First, they need to engage voters in the same way that Democratic candidates are. Secondly, they need to mend the divide between urban and rural voters. And lastly, they need to trend away from extremism, as this is only losing them votes. But before I talk about extremism, I'm going to talk about my first 2 points. We need to engage voters in the same way that Democratic candidates are. As according to the Washington Post in December 2020, prominent Democrats like Stacey Abrams have done a huge amount for Democratic candidates like President-elect Joe Biden, who won Georgia, surprisingly, by winning in the cities in the deep red state of Georgia. Something we once never would have thought of is happening now. And when I say Stacey Abrams engaged her voters, I mean she got down on eye level with them. She talked to her voters and energized them, got them to go out and vote. While talking to voters and educating them about the voter process does really help them come out and vote. Republicans need something to energize and get these voters out in urban areas and rural areas. A process like this would greatly increase voter turnout across the board for Republicans, with a snowballing effect being induced by helping educate people on the voting process. With encouraging more and more people to vote, you can get one person who tells their mother or father or their friends to come out and vote with them. And by winning one voter, you can win 3 or 4 more voters. And this snowballing effect has worked to the advantage of Democrats. Another engagement issue that the Republicans have been having, and it seems to me, is they can't get to the eye level with their voters. In urban areas, poverty and homelessness seem to be big issues. While Republicans may offer a tax cut for somebody who they want to vote for them, if you're in poverty or if you're homeless, a tax cut doesn't seem like much of a plan to help your issues. And if there's no detailed plan on the issues that you have, do you really feel like you're going to be helped? Republicans need to get down and dirty with their voters and talk to them about important issues to them and get detailed plans out to them about how they're fixing their issues, not just something as simple as a tax cut that can fix a lot of different issues and doesn't seem to affect you very much when that actually happens. And while these urban voters may be experiencing different issues than rural voters, we still need to acknowledge that there is a divide between rural and urban voters. Republicans need to extend an olive branch. Like, as according to Associated Press in January 2021, President-elect Joe Biden has found himself extending an olive branch to congressional Republicans and Democrats trying to mend the wounds between rural and urban voters, between Republicans and Democrats. I believe that Republicans have multiple different options in mending the difference between urban and rural people. One such big societal difference has to be gun control. With gun control being such a polarized opposite difference with Republican and Democratic voters, rural and urban voters, it's almost a straight divide across the board between them. While when you live in a rural area, you may see gun control as something that is suppressing on your rights, as we use guns to fend for our livestock, for recreation, while in a city it might be portrayed by the media strictly as something that is used as a weapon of mass destruction, of violence, school shootings, mass shootings, gang violence. We see them more as a way of defending ourselves than we do as a way of life. And this is a mend that I believe can be fixed by Republicans advocating for more gun education. If you can educate these urban voters and teach them about how guns are and how to safely use them, you can help drastically reduce these incidents that leave a long-lasting scar in our brains. And while projects like gun education will definitely help mend this divide, I believe investing in infrastructure will help with that as well. Being able to move freely between rural and urban areas without spending vast amounts of time will help expose more rural people to urban people and vice versa. While urban people have more experiences with different varieties of people and different ideas, rural people are indoctrinated to almost the same idea, and that has led to a more extreme ideology being founded in the right wing of the United States. Extremism in the United States right now is running rampant, with the Republican Party sometimes and sometimes not endorsing extremism. There's almost cult-like followings such as QAnon that have formed and are garnering a lot of support in the Republican Party. And this is scaring away urban voters. Urban moderate voters are people who live in suburbs. A nuclear family, a father, a mother, and a couple kids. The father and mother just don't see a reason to vote for a party that is supporting something as extreme as QAnon. And when you're exposed to more culture in urban areas, it makes it harder to associate yourself with white nationalist parties like the Proud Boys, where it's a white national movement. They want to have a white nationalist state. And this scares away urban voters, and I believe Republicans need to disassociate themselves with these affiliated groups. And while extremism may be bad on the left as well with different groups like Antifa, I believe that the Republican Party has been portrayed in a more negative light to urban voters by these groups. Extremism isn't an easy fix for anybody, but I believe that Republicans can win more urban voters. And there are three different ailments I suggested. First being Republicans need to get out and encourage their voters. Engage with their voters, get on the eye level and get them to come out and vote for them. Secondly, they need to mend the divide between rural and urban voters. And lastly, they need to stop the rampant extremism that has tacked itself onto their party.